Your government has been purchased, not metaphorically, not as a talking point, literally purchased with documented money from documented sources traced through documented accounts by an organization that was ordered to register as a foreign agent, changed its name to avoid it, and has been buying the United States Congress ever since. I'm going to show you the receipts, and when I'm done, I want you to ask yourself one question. If this was China doing this, if China had spent $126 million buying 318 members of Congress, hiding the money behind women's coalitions and affordable housing groups and progressive partnerships, what would we call that? We'd call it what it is, an infestation. So let's call this what it is too. Go back to 1962. Bobby Kennedy, Attorney General of the United States, ordered the American Zionist Council to register as a foreign agent under the Foreign Agents Registration Act, FARA. The law built specifically to make foreign influence visible so the American people could see who's pulling the strings. Why? Because Senate investigations had documented that Israel funneled $5 million, over $35 million in today's dollars, through the Jewish agency in New York directly into the AZC to run lobbying and propaganda operations inside the United States. The AZC admitted it in formal deposition that it received virtually all of its operating funds from a foreign government entity. Not alleged, admitted. Bobby Kennedy said, register. You're an agent of a foreign government. The law requires it. Their response? They changed the name. Same leadership, same money, same mission. New letterhead. The American Israel Public Affairs Committee, AIPAC, and they never registered. Not then, not now, not ever. FARA was written in 1938 to stop Nazi propaganda from operating freely inside America. It was weaponized against the AZC, and the AZC simply renamed itself and walked out the back door. JFK was assassinated 11 months later. The new administration quietly dropped the registration demand. By 1965, the DOJ accepted an agreement that required no registration at all, and the operation went underground and got bigger. I want you to sit with that timeline. Bobby Kennedy orders registration in November 1962. AIPAC is incorporated in early 1963. JFK is assassinated November 1963. The registration demand disappears. You don't have to draw any conclusions. Just watch the pattern. Now let me show you how they buy elections, because there isn't one pipe. There are three engineered specifically to make the money untraceable. Pipe 1, direct PAC contributions. Capped, traceable, go straight to the candidate. AIPAC's own PAC pushed over $55 million directly to federal candidates in the 2024 cycle. That's the visible layer. That's what they want you to think is the whole story. Pipe 2, Super PAC independent expenditures. Unlimited. Technically, independent, meaning the Super PAC cannot legally coordinate with the campaign, except the FEC has never fined a single Super PAC for coordinating with a candidate. Not one time. Zero enforcement. AIPAC Super PAC calls itself the United Democracy Project, UDP. It spent $61 million in 2024. Not one of its ads mentioned Israel. Not one. They ran ads about democracy and values and wrote checks to legislators who approved weapons transfers to a government under active war crimes indictment. Pipe 3, dark money. This is the pipeline they never want you to find. 501c4 nonprofits, social welfare organizations, can accept unlimited money from corporations, from billionaires, from foreign connected individuals, and they are not required to disclose a single donor. Ever. They feed that money into super PACs. The super PAC lists the nonprofit. The source stays buried. Dark money in the 2024 federal election topped $1 billion. Origin, unknown. Accountability, zero. 3 pipes, $126.9 million from AIPAC alone in a single election cycle. And that's before you count the individual billionaires running their own parallel operations. Miriam Adelson, born in Tel Aviv, served in the Israeli military, owns Israel's largest newspaper. She gave $106 million to Trump's 2024 campaign. Trump stood in the Israeli parliament, the Knesset, pointed at her and said she has $60 billion and she loves Israel. Said he once asked her whether she loves the United States or Israel more. She refused to answer. That exchange happened on the floor of a foreign government's parliament, in front of the world, and it didn't lead in a single American newscast. Now here's where it gets fully cynical. When the AIPAC name became too toxic, when Democratic voters started recognizing the brand and rejecting it at the polls, the operation didn't stop. Just put on a different face. Look at what's happening in Illinois today, March 17th, primary elections. A Palestinian American woman named Kat Abu Ghazala, excuse me if I mispronounced that, is running for Congress. AIPAC and its donors have spent $13.7 million in these Illinois primaries. Not $1 came with an AIPAC label on it. Instead, it came through Elect Chicago Women, $5.8 million. Sounds like a woman's empower group. It's a dark money super PAC whose donors won't be disclosed until 3 days after the election. Affordable Chicago Now, connected to AIPAC's United Democracy Project. Sounds like a cost of living advocacy group. It's a political operation running ads that never once mention Israel. Chicago Progressive Partnership. Over 1 million in attack ads against Abu Ghazala. Called itself progressive. Tied to the same donor network that has been removing progressive voices from Congress for 3 cycles running. Elect Democratic Women. $500,000 in ads. Had $6,000 cash on hand entering February. Someone filled that account overnight. We won't know who until after the votes are counted, by design. And in the most ruthless move, an AIPAC-linked PAC ran ads actively supporting a long-shot Palestinian candidate. Not because they believed in her, to split the progressive vote, to drain support from Abu Ghazala. The candidate they supported called it disgusting and demanded they stopped. They kept running the ads because this was never about supporting anyone. It was about engineering an outcome. This is what a pack of wolves looks like. They don't come at you straight. They come as women's coalitions. They come as affordability groups. They come as progressive partnerships. And they do it because the AIPAC brand now loses elections when voters can see it. So they made the brand invisible and kept the money flowing. 318 candidates backed by AIPAC were elected to the current Congress. 318. Bipartisan. House and Senate. That's not a lobbying organization. That is a purchasing department operating inside the United States government on behalf of a foreign government's interests. Let me be precise about what I'm saying and what I'm not. I am not saying every Jewish American supports AIPAC. Many actively oppose it. I'm not saying that concern for Israel is illegitimate. I'm saying that when an organization, one that was ordered to register as a foreign agent and renamed itself to avoid compliance, spends $126 million buying Congress, and those legislators then vote to fund a war that an American public overwhelmingly opposes, and oppose ceasefire resolutions that the American public overwhelmingly support, that is not representation. That is foreign policy purchased with foreign interest money and executed through American bodies at American expense. Cori Bush called for a ceasefire. AIPAC spent $10 million to remove her. Jamal Bowman called for a ceasefire. AIPAC spent $10 million to remove him. Their constituents did not fire them. A foreign interest organization with unlimited money did, and the legislators who replaced them walked into office already knowing who they owe. That is not how a democracy functions. That is how a colony functions. And if you cannot see the difference, they've already won. We're now at war with Iran. American bombs dropped. American military assets deployed. American blood and American money on the line. No congressional declaration of war. No public debate. No vote by the people who will pay for it with their taxes and their children. The legislators who authorized this, many of them, took the check. The money trail runs from foreign interest billionaires through dark money nonprofits, through generic names, super PACs, through congressional campaign accounts, through votes on the House and Senate floor. That trail is documented. It's traceable. And nobody in mainstream media will walk it end to end on camera and call it what it is. So I will. This is what foreign capture of a democratic government looks like. It doesn't look like the tanks in the streets. It looks like women's coalitions with $6,000 in cash and suddenly have $500,000 to spend. It looks like United Democracy Project, running 61 million in ads that never mention the country whose democracy they're actually protecting. It looks like a president standing in a foreign parliament pointing at a billionaire who refused to say she loves America first. And it looks like a war that nobody voted for, fought by people who had no say, funded by a government that answers to money you were never supposed to be able to trace. So here's what I need from you. Not outrage. Outrage is cheap and they know how to wait it out. I need awareness, sustained, specific, structural awareness. Know the names: APAC, UDP, United Democracy Project, NORPAC, NACPAC, DMFI, JAC, Elect Chicago Women, Affordable Chicago Now, Chicago Progressive Partnership. When a PAC with a generic name floods a race with money days before an election and won't disclose its donors until after the votes are counted, that is not a coincidence. That is a method. Know what's at stake. Every time a Corey or a Jamal or a Cat gets targeted with $10 million in a primary, ask what position they held and what made them worth $10 million in silence. That answer is your foreign policy briefing. It is more honest than anything coming out of the press secretary's mouth. And understand this: the war we are in right now did not begin on the day the first bomb dropped. It began decades ago in a Senate hearing room where a foreign-funded lobby admitted where its money came from, and then changed its name and kept operating. Bobby Kennedy saw it. He put the law on it, and then he was gone, and the machine kept running. And it's still running. It's running today in Illinois, in Washington, in every race where a candidate dares to say that American foreign policy should serve American interests, and suddenly finds themselves facing 10 million in ads from a group that didn't exist 3 months ago. Wolves don't announce themselves. They organize. They're patient. They come wearing whatever face gets them through the door. Your job, our job, is to learn to see them for what they are before the door opens. This is not about hating anyone. This is about loving this country enough to defend it from the inside out. This is Keith. Keith speaks. Watch the pattern. Ask better questions and use your voice. Whether you agree or disagree, please feel free to comment. Share this. Subscribe for more actual information, or I'll cut through the BS and just tell you the facts. Peace.